I went in February for an annual physical, and about 2 weeks later, got the call from my doctor saying you have an elevated PSA of 16. You should go see a urologist. A couple days later, saw a urologist, and he says, yeah, we should do a biopsy. So got the results back from that, and 12 of the cores were positive and had a Gleason score of 9. That was kind of put you in the shock that, okay, now we've got a real issue.
Came around the corner and he was sitting on the sitting on the steps and just in shock. And I asked him what was going on. He said, the cores are back, and I've got my prostate is basically cancerous.
I always figured, my dad had prostate cancer, and the odds are eventually maybe it's something I have to deal with.
Because of a Boeing management requirement, I was having a yearly thing, and then I included in that a PSA check and a urologist visit once a year. One year on this routine thing, my PSA had jumped, and he said, "Hey, that happens, and that's still a very low number, and hey, we'll look at it again next year." Well, 3 months later, it had gone up even more. He did the biopsies, and sometime later he called and said, "Hey, we did 5 needles, and the 5th one, which I almost didn't do," he said the 5th one was hot, was positive.
It all happened so fast from then on because of a plane trip we took, and a urologist from Alaska told Dan he needed to see Dr. Lang. Well, he saw Dr. Lang, and he was in surgery within days. And so I really didn't have much chance to think about it or stew about it, and I really was naive enough not to know all that was involved.
So the surgery was in the spring, and that fall I ran the Seattle Marathon, so just 6 months or less after that. Marathons have been a big part of my life, and running, though I don't do marathons at age 87 anymore, but I do run every other day a 5K, and it's a part of my life that I will keep doing.
We were able to reach out to a couple close friends that had gone through prostate cancer, and through their connections got hooked up with a good local surgeon, and just figured, okay, we'll just we'll do the surgery, and and really thought we'd come out of it with the same results as my dad, and be cured, and we weren't that fortunate.
I have to say that what scares me most is the unknown aspects of it, and I don't go there. I just can't. Locke and I are working so hard to make sure that we move forward and keep looking ahead and look at a potential, if not cure, at least contain it and keep it at bay and keeping them alive. But I don't even go to the what if stage.
There was never a time when I was really fearful, and maybe to a fault, maybe I should have been more alarmed. I wanted my kids to be concerned, and so I was always on them, and I was a little bit frustrated that I wasn't sure they were really, religiously watching their PSA, but turns out they were, except Locke skipped a year when he didn't go in on an annual basis, and it was the wrong year to skip. So he's had a severe difficulty with the results of that.
When I found out that Locke had it, to me that was extremely distressing.
He's been a tremendous achiever all his life, and this is just one more thing he's gonna succeed with.
There are ways out there to deal with this and not let it consume your lives.
The gaining of knowledge takes a lot of the frightening aspect of it away, and can help you then not be afraid and live positively and enjoy what opportunities there are out there.
My father had prostate cancer but didn't die of it. He lived to 96, and So having been under almost continual medical care by NASA, I figured, well, there's just going to be another inconvenience of life, and so I had the prostate out. Interestingly, apparently didn't get it all because the PSA is going back up again. So I have to deal with that.
I think the greatest impact of that diagnosis was the fact that he said to our 4 sons, go get checked. And I don't mean just a lab test, I mean a physical checkup, which they did do. And of course, the sad news was that Greg had it, but had he not been diagnosed then, it could have been far worse than it was.
My prostate cancer was the kind that is very difficult to detect via the digital exam, and a very vicious kind. It was a Gleason 9 in the end. And so tracking PSA literally saved my life.
It was in the family, but I didn't think it would be so young, but mid-40s, it was shocking,
I'd say it was a bigger impact on me to learn that Greg had it than it was with Bill, because Bill's father had it, and it was, as I said, a quiet diagnosis. It was there, but it was almost not expected, but when you have it as a 40-year-old, it's just a whole different thing.
Everybody's a little bit scared. It's not a happy news for the family, but it certainly was something we were very open with all along.
It was a scary time of your life, especially since he was fairly young and it was kind of unexpected.
Well, I think I felt throughout the process, it was kind of a dull, numb fear, frankly. I felt more fear towards prostate cancer than I did going to war. Sort of an interesting concept, at least in a combat environment. You have your training, you have your skill set, you believe you can fight this thing on your own, through your own skills. That's combat. Cancer, it's intimidating.
You don't know, it's kind of unknowing, how to feel, what do you do? And I think the best thing is just to talk to each other.
I think that the biggest impact on me that has been most effective at helping me cope with, where I'm at with this disease is more than anything, it taught me to live now. Trying to squeeze out of life whatever you can at that moment, because this really does teach you life is short. Health is precious, and it's just something you need to take advantage of when you have it. The more I learn about cancer, the more I understand. When I got my prostatectomy, I thought I was cured. I mean, obviously, I went every 6 months to get my checkups. Everything was good. We switched to a year, and that's when my PSA started to climb. Because I was a Gleason 9, we went into radiation. I've learned that the Gleason 9 is something that you cannot cure, fundamentally. So I believe it will be back. It's just a matter of time. What's more important to me is mentoring all males and just tell them, hey, be aware of it. I got saved by tracking my PSA, period. If I hadn't been tracking PSA, I'd be dead.
I find it interesting that all 3 of us on the Apollo 8 crew got prostate cancer and have had our prostates out.
You're in for a hard journey here, because in order to save your life, you have to do rather drastic things.
Continue on as normal as you can, but also realize that we've got to talk through some of the hard things we're going to go through.
I'm very fearful and worried for Locke. And the best thing about it for Locke is his attitude and his strength and his determination and his record of achievement. As I said, if anyone can beat it, he's going to.
One of the challenges, especially when we're talking about prostate cancer, is that to fly, you have to be healthy. So that was frankly one of my biggest concerns, was I going to be able to continue to fly after this process? Would I still maintain sufficient health to continue to fly? For me, flying is my freedom, it is my expression. My dad and I is something that we get to share, and I've really enjoyed. That's been a very special aspect of my life. What better way to spend an afternoon than flying formation with your dad? but that's what cancer taught me, is to leap in, get life. Achieve your dreams now, because you may not have time later.